welcome back everyone to another painfully beautiful production on D-Mind of Booma San's Rumble channel. I'm back once again to do some heavy lifting for Booma San, the digital samurai for truth. Please know that you'll want to especially stick around through the end of this digital samurai short. There just may be some naughty ninja shenanigans involved to end this one with a banger. So without further ado, let's get to it with this Zoom room full of circle-jerking Flynn Bros that love to congratulate themselves for grifting their psyops on all who unfortunately find themselves trapped in their counterfeit awakening.
Let's talk for a second. I want to hear from you on this also, Alpha. Somebody pointed this out on the news. Nino, we talked about it yesterday. Who made this happen? Who made it happen? This was the podcast world that made this happen. Yes.
Let me just stop you right there, Scott, before you begin to congratulate yourself and these other milquetoast pussies. How's Miki Clan doing these days?
But the fact that what I learned today, what they can do is probably going to get arrested, probably going to get arrested, probably going to get arrested.
Right. I just wanted to remind everyone that the Patriot Street Grifter was dumb enough to trust Madyson Marquette, who is in love with a pedophile while claiming to fight pedophiles. Therefore, his skinny jean-wearing ass was secretly recorded saying Miki Clan was probably going to get arrested. There's something very wrong with you criminals. How's Ann Storm, the Capital Vandersteel, doing? Anyway, I digress. On with the Flynn Bros congratulating the Flynn Bros.
But I mean, I know Joe Rogan got credit for, and I'm very frank about it. We were talking about it yesterday, like mentioning Joe Rogan because of all this. Look, the simple fact is this, and I'm shouting out to all of you guys sitting here and the rest of the podcast world. It was the Joe Lunch Bucket type of people like our Fisher Price studio here. This is what changed the dynamic in this country. Look, I love Joe Rogan. He's got an incredible platform. But the simple fact is we were all referred to as a bunch of Q-fucks early on. All of us are following this intel, disseminating to the world, telling people what it was. And we were being poked at, laughed at, called Q-fucks and all this other stuff. Now they have other people saying, yeah, thank God for this person. Like, where were you when we were fighting this war for 30 years or the last 5 or 6?
Bugger. I have to stop you again there, Scott. The irony here is that none of you self-congratulating idiots actually know the Q boards. You might have others pointing out drops to give you talking points, but none of you here in this circle jerk actually do the real work necessary to inform anyone of anything remarkable. So let's take a look at just some of the things you've actually accomplished. The Patriot Street Grifter, in cahoots with Miki Clan, helped bring -48 on the scene. -48 claimed JFK was actually president and would appear on the anniversary of JFK's assassination in Dallas. That didn't happen. It was another massive money-making clickbait fraud that deflated a lot of patriots. Where is your responsibility in that delusion on the American people, Scott? And Michael Protzman died. Do any of you pay your respects for the friendship you once claimed to have? Scott here also teamed up with Nino to unleash the Patriot Switch and Operation Tomahawk scams on their followers. It's all a Melaleuca ploy claiming to fight the cabal's money supply, while in reality it simply redirects more of their followers' monthly required purchases into their bank accounts. Scott also pushes tactical civics, which has had zero effect on any outcomes here in America. Scott also claimed he was going to get justice for his father, the general, and Kirsten W. after their untimely deaths during COVID. Instead, he ended up magically rich over a collagen product that was merely ground-up eggshells by his own admission. Very strange. And around that same time, Scott was regularly on shows saying, "I never want this to end," because he was having so much fun while many were learning about the horrors of human trafficking. Scott McKay blew up around this time as patriots rallied to support him after the general's passing. But Scott's tune on getting justice drastically changed. What do you suppose really happened there? Anyway, there's much more to this one as has been covered on this channel, but I think everyone here gets the point. On with the narcissism being displayed here in unison.
So I'm going to make it personally known. It was guys like you, all of you, doing free work on podcast channels, not being paid for it. It wasn't one thing. Look, the biggest assets we have in the podcast world, Joe Rogan, Dan Bongino, and certainly Tucker Carlson, the behemoth. But the fact of the matter is, it really was you guys that were out there building the entire foundation that caused all of this to happen. Because why? Because nobody says the shit we say. Nobody comes out.
No,
with
we were in the trenches. We were fighting
Mm-hmm.
in the trenches. We took the mountain, man. We took the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. Here comes Nino wanting his mainstream credit as though he isn't worshipped enough as a false celebrity truther idol. Before he continues demanding more and more from everyone, let's bust some Nino, Jacko, and Alpha Chops. Nino was the first behind the Patriot Switch Melaleuca scam that has many podcasters grifting it. Nino is attached at the hip to Wayne Willett, who is attached to Flynn. Kerry Cassidy has even stated that Wayne runs much of alternative media when it comes to the truther movement. These guys here are the narrative gatekeepers. They pushed the Sound of Freedom psyop and never answer for it. They've made false predictions for years and most recently pushed the fear porn that the election would be stolen again. It didn't happen like so many others they've predicted in the past. We just don't have the time. Nino remains on YouTube, which is an immediate red flag pointing at him being controlled opposition. Check. Michael Jacko is ex-CIA. He claims to be a super soldier in the Dolphin projects, whatever that is. Jacko also claims to be Constantine in a past life. Jacko claims Flynn is a baddie yet is still close to Wayne and Alpha doesn't want to fight him. Alpha wants to fight with everyone on X who disses Flynn yet doesn't beef with Jacko here. Why is that? It's because they are all part of the same Flynn network running psyops in the alternative media. And we'll get to another Flynn network plant in Josh Reed here in a moment after Nino continues to demand more popularity.
And now everyone's coming in. We were the first ones out 4 years ago. Nobody was talking about this stuff. Only us. We were the only ones. Josh, Alpha, Mike, Scott, Mel K, others, Laura Logan. We were looked at as like, we were an anomaly, dude. Like, it was like not even heard of. We were the only ones talking about this stuff. And between all of us, 50, 60, 100 million people that we've reached, all of us, I don't know how many. I would never know the real numbers, but I know it's way up in the millions. We made that consciousness shift. And, Joe Rogan's and those guys come in at the last second and say, I endorse him. His whole fucking interview with Trump was surface level, dude. I know none of us would have talked about anything surface level with Trump. I bet all of us get the podcast he deserves in the end by Mike Jacko, Scott McKay, myself, Alpha Warrior, Josh Reed. We give him the podcast he deserves. We talk about the art of fucking war. We talk about how did you strategize to win the election? How did you strategize to take down the deep state? That's the fucking podcast this guy deserves.
You gave me
what really happened in 9/11?
You gave me freaking
shit. We got a new Vince Lombardi, the podcast world here, and his name is Nino Forkin Rodriguez.
I'm just mad. I just, dude, I dealt with this in
you're
boxing.
Right.
All right, I think we get it. The Flynn Bros love the Flynn Bros, and they want everyone to love the Flynn Bros. Yeesh. Someone might want to check little Nino's diaper, though. I think he might have made a poopsie. So, before we get to the grand finale, we must get through this Josh Reed fellow. Booma San isn't as familiar with this one, yet at the beginning of this bragfest, Josh showed who he really is by dropping this huge fat pile of unverifiable horseshit.
So, from what we got is that after the attempted assassination attempt in Butler, PA, there was a capitulation. So if everybody remembers on January 20th, 2020, when Donald Trump left the White House, it's customary for the outgoing president to leave the incoming president a letter. Donald Trump left a letter on Joe Biden's desk. Joe Biden was asked about this letter. And in perspective, Joe Biden said it was a very generous letter. During that time, we had information that what Donald Trump said in that letter is, Joe, when they try to 25th Amendment you and replace you, give me a call. Well, Butler, PA, that happened to be around the exact same time that they were moving the coup on Joe Biden to remove him from candidacy. and put HRC in spot, but they did not want Joe Biden to come out there and endorse any candidate. So what happened? We know Joe Biden called Donald Trump when he was in the hospital in Butler, PA. He said that he had a very cordial conversation with him. They laughed, which is unheard of because these two men want to fight in the back of the playground. What was talked about and discussed? Apparently, what was talked about and discussed was a pardon for Hunter Biden to make sure that all lawsuits were dropped against Joe Biden and that all investigations were dropped about Joe Biden, that Joe Biden would drop out of the race and endorse Kamala Harris, which would be detrimental to the DNC because they wanted an open convention because HRC is the only one they knew that could poll against Donald Trump and have a chance in hell to actually win this race. They knew if Kamala came in, the Trump administration knew if Kamala came in, there was not a chance in hell they could win the election unless they tried to steal it. And this was all about forcing that massive steal. If it was Hillary Clinton, they would need 10,000 votes here, 10,000 votes there, 10,000 votes here. With Kamala Harris, they need millions upon millions of votes, the same type of steal that they did in 2020. And that just was not going to be possible unless you had some type of foreign interference.
So there you have it. The talking bobbleheads with no sources or proof sowing psyop narratives into the alternative media once again. If Josh Reed really thinks Trump would pardon Hunter and drop investigations into Joe, then he is smoking Hunter Biden's seemingly endless supply of crack cocaine. It's as simple as that. Case closed. Frauds exposed once again. And as we part ways this time, please let us make sure we send off the Flynn Bros in proper naughty ninja fashion.